Always a pleasure to fire on the stream and start the pre-roll and get a few views in chat. Ah, I see. There we go. We had a problem. Somehow my mic slider got slided way down. Hey, how you doing? We're good now. Yeah, don't know what that was. My mic audio mixing was like super low for some reason. Must have like accidentally grabbed it when I didn't mean to, or clicked, because computers are cool. Anyway, we're going. I was just saying earlier, hi chat, and thanks for when we go live for a little something like this, see some people popping off in chat right away. That's always great to see. How is you? Sorry about that. We're scooching up. I dialed the audio in the background down a little. Let me know how the audio mix sounds. I got me up a little bit. Like I'm kind of in the middle of the mix. I can mix myself a little higher since it's just me, because we're doing news desk. But yeah, we're good. All right. Okay. Hi. Howdy. Hey. How you doing, chat? Nah, I got background music. I was gonna do the dumb little mouth jingle I used to do sometime on News Desk. You don't really got to do that. Do I even do my? Actually, hey, fun behind the scenes fact, because we're not really started yet. The 8 of you who showed up early. Fun behind the scenes fact: if you don't recognize it, which many of you watching probably do because of how this works, but the thing I did instead of like a little stay tuned notice for the Patreon logo, which to remind everybody, because it's been a few years, Lucky did that edit for me. So that's a Lucky production. But now when I do like a wanted or something like that, I include approximately 1/2 of the GBA's startup noise as a little ding. I used to do for like actual news desks, I would do like random, public domain news blurb sounds. And it's been like I don't even want to say a month. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I did a news desk short. I'm pretty sure I don't do an audio cue for that. I just say in my best YouTube Shorts voice, it's Let's Talk SEO News Desk. Yes, so hi chat. The stream's a little surprised. It's a little gorilla. Not fully gorilla, just a little gorilla. But basically, to explain at the top, people will ask, we'll be sure to repeat this later throughout the show. Lucky's not feeling good for recording. His sleep schedule is out of whack again. So he's like waking up and going to sleep on completely topsy-turvy schedules. And I don't know if you've ever done that, chat. But when your circadian rhythms are... Yeah, we go for 5 minutes. I can say when your circadian rhythms are fucked up, they're fucked up, chat. So, like, you usually don't feel good. So, like, Lucky's on an off-kilter right now. Happens to me sometimes, feeling sick or off-kilter or whatever. So, we're coming back. I am doing a stream to cover the news because there's a few things going on with FGO to remind you about. And this week we're scheduled for the pregame for the Christmas Lotto, the NEMO event, hence the title of this stream. So we're going to run you through that real quick. But the Chaldea Broadcasting is announced for the 18th, I want to say, which should be after our next show or before our next show time. So it's like, we got to get in there. And also, just a little treat for you in the front. We skipped a decent number of episodes of the bottom half of the year. Usually, not always, but usually the YouTube ad revenue is better in like the holiday times. Then it kind of drops down a little at the start of the new year. That doesn't always happen exactly for us because YouTube is very wacky wild. But, we got to get our revs in where we can. Because otherwise stuff gets a little goofed up. Got to keep on the ups and ups. So, thanks for showing up to the stream, even though it's not super announced. Thanks for engaging in the chat and shit like that. Yeah, we got a little bit of a trailer. We got a little bit of a trailer to do. Going back to Fuyuki. They're like final chapter, and I keep seeing some translations as, like, epilogue, so it's going to be interesting. But thanks for showing up. You know, be sure to give this video some likes and stuff. You know, keep feeding the YouTube demon. And if you really want to help us out, consider popping over to Patreon. This episode's not going to be patroned, but because I'm not bothering to record the audio because I don't want to do the mix and shit. Here, let's fade in. There it is. Kind of surprised my chat window didn't work right away. Anyway, hi, we're here. You know, but consider a visit to yonder Patreon. Because, you know, you can kind of get that preamble banter and a lot of that stuff and that back and forth and all that every week at different levels. But I will at the top, just so I don't forget it, shout out our patrons like Adam Tarp, Blackest G, Call Me Zed, Carlos Dragon, Kid Fantastic Star, Rise of Kenji, Rogarman, and Sharvor. Thanks all of our patrons for supporting. Thanks for hanging out with us. And you can see our beautiful note stock right here. As usual, you know, we're not doing like a full Let's Talk FGO, so I'm not doing the like, this week on Let's Talk FGO, you know, shit like that. We're just chilling. But Lucky's not here, so I'm not doing Mailbag. Mailbag is Lucky's thing. I do not steal Lucky's thunder. Them's the breaks. We'll come back to it either next week or Lucky will make you submit it again. Lucky doesn't know yet, so I don't know. Womp womp. But I will probably be around to jaw back and forth with people in the live chat as we wind down. We'll probably do a little bit of what's up-ish stuff. Like, I can get a couple of immediately relevant things I can jaw with you about. We can get a little interactive chat. We can do a little normal streamery type bants. Let me just make sure. Did I set this to loop? Yes. Okay. The compilation of FGO music I have right now from channel SoSaw, by the way. I think these are my go-to compilations. This is volume 2. This is about 2 hours long, 2 hours 15 minutes-ish. So if it does actually loop, that probably means we're in trouble. A lot of people saying it would involve Fuyuki, yeah. You know, we're returning to the origin. And a lot of people these days are pointing out that there were still some lingering questions. I think Nasp even said that, like, that was one of the things that was intended to resolve with this. So, we're doing, though, an FGO news desk adjacent thing. We'll even skip on, like, the pro tip type shit, because, you know, we're going to cover it. Just a reminder, clear Trom. If you're a little behind on your master missions, you don't got long to clear them out, but if you want to finish them this week, you got to run through 15 of basically each class. They're broken into Saber Rider, Archer, Caster, and Lassassin? What's that, Lassie? Berserker's stuck in the whale. Lancer, Archer, wow, I almost said Bassassin. I'm terrible tonight, Jesus. Fire me, I guess. Anyway, those classes, you can see them on the screen. You guys can read. You need to defeat 15 enemies with the human attribute, do 5 quests, do 10 quests. Wrap up your Gouda farming now, because you're not going to get your lotto for a little bit. Run it back in. Isn't that grand, Chad? Isn't that grand? Also, I warn you. For reasons that'll become clear when we do get to the what's up part. You're going to get a lot of this voice for some reason. Spoiler, it's because of the Fallout TV show. I binged like the last 4 episodes last night. Anyway, now that you've yeed your last haw, the actual skelograms, I literally called the shot last week because it was, you know, pretty normal. But hey, the Arc 2 retrospective, they did the Ordeal Call 4-1, started the 8th and ends the 15th. 0 AP free quests in OC4. So shockingly not, I thought they were going to do Metajon as a banner. No, they did not do that. They're doing that anyway because I think they're doing everybody. But the specific banner that ties into this is Lilith and Summer Martha, which is a little silly. But yeah, so... Oh, sorry. I gestured and smacked my mic arm. Let me make sure that's all balanced up now. Okay. But yes, we are doing our final little wind-in. So, In EN, though, we did start on the 10th a few days ago and ending on the 31st, a Christmas 2025 pre-release campaign. So, this was my pro tip, which you can see at the top of the screen. If you want to get your welfare Nemo, you need to have cleared Traum. Lost Belt 6.5. You cannot do the main story of the upcoming Christmas Lotto if you have not cleared Traum. But you can still do free quests. But still, you're getting Leyline Stones refreshed, and story has quarter AP through Traum, so that you can catch up. So if you are not through Traum, and you, like, want to be, you have room. You've got a few days before the event starts to actually get in there, so get ready to run on in there. Is Lilith the fastest turnaround time for rerun? I don't think so. Because there were a couple that were pretty good, but yeah, there's some stuff. But big in the what should I say? The textual sense. Big in that there's a lot of them. So, JP, they're also running what we're calling the All Servants Summoning Campaign. That started the 10th and ends the 31st. Literally fucking everybody's on a raid app. You thought it was bad when they were doing the grand duels and the weekly class campaigns? No, fuck you. Every single SSR gets a raid up. These are divided broadly into Knight, Cavalry, and extra, like, categories for you to sort through so you don't, like, go blind, so the pips don't take up your entire screen. But it is kind of a navigational nightmare, because literally every server is on raid up. Everybody's getting a raid up before the finale. And also there's an SR. Like, they say all servant summoning, so I assume Olga has to even be in there. Like literally everyone. I don't, we're running it back. At least that's what they claim. To coincide with this, until the 17th, all grand duels are going to be 0 storm pods. Get your opportunity to slam and jam your grand duels in. They are not required for the finale, but will help you because there will be raids, so, there'll be buffs and stuff. They're also running a separate campaign called the Heroic Spirit Apex campaign. It's very funny. It's based on the Part 2 finale key art, which I used in the clumsy edit of today's thumbnail. So, that normal art looks a lot better, but I squished it together into a thumbnail edit. Haha. But if I'm understanding the way that works correctly, so, all the servants featured in that image are on raid up. And specifically, the 1% SSR chance is split between all of the SSRs in that image. Let me see if I can check out the full one. There. I mean, I'll say this, X, saying like, oh, you feel the game's going towards EOS. I feel like the closer and closer we get to the actual finale, the less and less I feel like it's an end of service. Like, I know a lot of people are, like, talking about the worry. FGO still makes really good money and, like, has a really strong built-in player base. Like, people are gonna have to, like, care nothing about FGO after Part 2 ends. Like, even after the Valentine's part ends. Like, you're gonna have to be looking at, like, abysmal, like, stats for players' downloads and money spent for them to quit this. I do think we're probably going to see a very light content area, and like I said, Lucky and I have been hammering into this for at least 6 months, and probably more like 12 months. I really do want them to do an FGO2 just to clean up some of the fundamental, like, issues with the programming of FGO number 1. I don't think that, like, Sony and Lasengel and the guys are going to, like, ditch this project. It's going to look more like, like I said, it will probably turn into a sequel or something odd for Part 3. Like, there's no way that this money train is going to end right away, because they've still been, like, getting bigger and badder, and it's kind of crazy. but we will have to see how people play out. But this is going to be the big finish, and I think that the team really does want you to be, like, involved with the selected servants you want. Like, you're only going to get a chance to do this final story arc and the raids with your favorites and have them be your chosen grands and shit, like, once. Otherwise, it's going to be like doing Solomon now. But let me see if I can. Well, I can look at the campaigns, so the servants you're looking at, the 5 stars, you've got regular Saber, Artoria, Sigurd, Super Orion, Ramus Quirinus, Melusine, Da Vinci Rider, Nemo, Scotty, Kama, Morgan, Kintoki, Jean, Space Ishtar, specifically, Ashidomen, and Koyan of Dark. Oh, and Lady Evelyn's there. So, like, this is a really interesting thing where, at least according to the wiki, you guys can fact-check me on this, but basically, the 1% SSR rate is divided up amongst only those SSRs. So only the specific headliners are in there. So it's not a GSSR in a typical sense, but if you spend on this banner, you'll get it. This also comes with the Heroic Spirit Apex Craft Essences, which are just that Heroic Spirits art from the key art, like, broken out. All of them have the roughly same effect, which is... basically, if you equip that craft essence, which is a 4-star craft essence, you get 2% Mastery XP, Mystic Cody XP, Bond Points, and QP. I'm going to guess that's probably like 5 or 10% when you MLB, but it's not listed here. And they're all kind of like referencing themselves in that sense. So they're all like part of that graphic. So that's a really interesting one. Again, you know, giving you a little something to do here, there, everywhere. So, it is an interesting one. And I guess, you know, we'll continue to see how we're doing. But yeah, that's a big part of that. And I believe the finale drops is still planned for the 20th. I feel like as much as there's, like, crazy new news and stuff coming out, I feel like a lot of the, like web connections and stuff are, like, super, like, slow. Like, I'm mostly getting my fucking news piecemeal from, like, looking at, you know, our JP thread in our Discord. Yeah, okay, no, the date on the trailer says the 20th, so we start this the 20th. We start at the 20th, and we see what's the haps. Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't know why I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought in the Christmas pre-release. I was talking about Trump. The Christmas pre-release does have some funny things with it. They have Amakusa and Gramps banners. I don't know why there's an Amakusa banner. I guess he is, you know, vaguely Christmas themed. Gramps will be a bonus servant. We'll talk about that in just a sec, I think. But yeah, I don't know why Amakusa's on there. But yeah, apparently we were doing pretty bad with our social media campaign, as is kind of to be expected because, you know, we're using Twitterx.com these days. But yeah, apparently some JP bros helped us out with that. A couple of fans in the JP space, including some of the artists, like I think even Paco like retweeted this campaign, like realized that we were lagging behind, and so we did get a bit of a social media push. So I think we're in the clear for that. It's only like 6 Saint Courts usually, but still, it's very funny to see. And you know, shout out to them. But yeah, the broadcasting, as I mentioned earlier, will be on the 18th. So yeah, you know, we're gonna run into Christmas, and do keep your eyes peeled in the Christmas. You know, it's like, let me run over to our Discord real quick because I posted the link. and it'll be easier to find what I posted in Discord, because we're in the 3rd week of an event, so our Discord channel for FGO English is moving slowly, as opposed to me trying to find my fucking Twitter likes and retweets. Yes, the name of this event is Merry Christmas in the Snowy Field, 7 days, 8 years. So I believe we are kind of doing like a retrospective thing. And like I said, keep your eyes peeled, because apparently this is going to have some of that there foreshadowing in it. Y'all like foreshadowing, chat? But that is basically where we're at with news stuff. To remind you, Lucky's not here, so we're not going to do mailbag. So, I got some notes about, or rather, I wrote a space here to talk about Goo epilogue impressions. I don't really have much to say. I do think the grand finale ties it together pretty good. Oh, shit. I'll be ratted out by Google spell check. I do like the skits, basically, for lack of a better word, before some of those, you know, we got a little Medusa and actual Goo, which is good. Some very funny parts of, you know, our different guys back and forth. But yeah, it was good, but there's not a lot else to add to that. So, you know, hey, it was nice. If you haven't finished it, finish it now. You've got like 3 days left, I think? 2 or 3? It's one of those. But with all that, I will continue the news desk part of the feature, and let's talk about the NEMO Christmas pregame. I'm going to run it through you pretty quick. Honestly, it's not that complicated. It's Christmas Lotto. It's going to be pretty standard. You're going to get a series of main quests every day, plus some new free quest access. I will warn you, the 90 and 90-plus quests basically rotate on what day it is. And then, depending on exactly, like, when it stops... Actually, no, they say it's going to be the 18th, so yeah, it'll probably be, like, Christmas Day reset, or Christmas Eve before Christmas Day, like, literally before Christmas Day rolls over, because of time zones and daylight savings time. They're going to lock in and stay static, but you're going to have, like, rotational ones after so many days. So, you know, if you're not so hot on one, you can, you know, wait until the next one, and then you'll actually be able to do the serious farming, you know, once we're done. The story's going to be 7 parts. It's got a prologue and epilogue. The prologue is all you do on day 1, and then, you know, the later days, you got the epilogue and the final one all in one. Day 1 is going to get you a temporary Nemo and the new Christmas Mystic Code. That's right. It's taken them 8 years. Well, Mao is pretty strong. You know, as usual, Gouda is like, its seriousness kind of wavers back and forth, so I think they do a decent job of, like, what's the word we're looking for? Like, poking fun at it a little, like with one of the ultimate conclusions there. I guess we'll have to see, because we got at least one more Gouda in this, because we're doing the big one this year. I don't think there was a Gouda last year in GP. But yes, we're going to get the Christmas Mystic Code this year. So that's got increased allies, NP damage, and NP gen for 1 turn. Recover an ally's HP and remove their dot debuffs, their ailments, which is burn, curse, and poison. And then the third is gain critical stars, 5% battery for the party. So, you know, a fun little time. And that'll be day 1. Now, you can't get the NEMO welfare if you... Sorry. Again, scratching my ear. You can't get NEMO welfare at all if you haven't cleared Trauma and do the story. That's a bullet point, which will be soon, I think. But you can still get the Mystic Code. Basically, if you haven't cleared Trom, the Mystic Code's in the shop for some extra Lotto currency. It's free if you can do the main story quests. So keep that in mind. And you'll get your permanent Nemo at the end. Now, despite the trauma requirements, most of these fights are pretty normal. The last couple will be a little tricksy. I'll talk about them. You know, as usual, we give a little spoiler warning before the pregame. I probably should have done that as bullet point number 1, but, you know, I wasn't planning on doing it in this format when I wrote it the other day. Blah, 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 blah. But in general, you're kind of flying solo. Like, they're not literally solo, but you do have to put your Nemo Santa in the front row. You can't use MASH. And you cannot use Mystic Codes or Command Seals in the battle. You know, so if I recall correctly, I suspect the theme of this is you're overworked, so Nemo's gonna do Christmas for you. So yeah, keep that in mind. But shouldn't be too hard. Most of the pools are still a little light, even though, again, this main story requires you to clear Trom to do. Let me take a sip of my water. So day 5, you know, usually it's like the last 3-ish days. Day 5, you got to fight a Summer BB. She's going to have 118 and 164k HP. She has an HP bar past that, but it's fake. Don't worry about it. She likes to auto-fire her NP a lot, so watch out for that. Remember, she has an AoE. Day 6, you got to do a weird fight where it's like all one battle, but you got to fight 2 Demon God Pillars type enemies who are Berserkers with like 150k HP. And then you got to fight Gramps at the end. I told you he was a bonus servant. With 173k and 203k HP. And he has a chance to inflict instant kill on normal attacks. His chance will go up as the fight goes on. He will do stuff to make that rate higher. So have fun with that. Remember, you can't use seals. You gotta one and done it. Actually, it doesn't say you can't use command spell revives, but yeah, you can't use command seals. So I don't know if you can I don't know if that locks you out of spending them on revives either. Day 7, you gotta fight a caster boss. Got a 142, 178k HP. You just have to take the boss down. He will summon adds. He will heal them. He will give them special defense. The battle ends when you kill him, so just focus on the boss. This will net you a total of 6 Saint Quartz. Will net you the Mystico, like I said before, 3-star CE, temp, then permanent Nemo, as we discussed. And to kind of like, you know, make up for the fact that, you know, some people can't do the story, you only get a Bond Grail at the end. It's not a Holy Grail Grail. Now, your free quests, those are going to be Fuyuki linked. You only have to clear Fuyuki to do free quests in this lotto if you are behind. I do encourage you to finish Tron to get the whole impact there. But yeah, they're not completely brain dead. The one that shouldn't rotate, like the 80 or whatever node, is going to be like, you got a mixture of Berserkers with like a caster and an Avenger boss ending at like 177k HP. The others are going to rotate. I'll only be talking about the 7th one because that'll be the one that'll stay fixed for the longest. But basically, the 90 will be 333 Assassins. Pretty normal stuff. The 90 plus will be 131 Berserker. And the 90 plus is a caster, which is like 311, and the final wave is 788k. So you will still have to bust your balls, like, but some of these will be moderately lighter, shall we say. If you have the special Lotto currency, which is Nautilus Ornaments, you can get access to a 333 caster node, which gives you a summon ticket when you clear it. If you really want to farm small bells, that's good for you. Otherwise, the drops aren't crazy good. You're going to want to aim for like the actual nodes, but it is one of those things where usually they do give you that kind of bonus node you can access. And it does have a specific like farmable drop, but it doesn't seem to have good currency drops. And of course, you'll be doing all of this for the lotto. If you don't know, our lotto format is pretty simple. You got a bunch of stuff in a box, you feed it so many tickets, you do so many pulls, you get so many things randomly out of the box. The first 10 boxes have a grand prize, so you can't skip to the next one until you get it. After that, you should unlock the freedom to reset instantly. At some point, you're going to get access to not just 1 or 10 pulls, but 100 pulls. I, again, do not know where that breakpoint is. I think in previous years it has been after you clear the 10. But yes, we're back to 100 pulls. Your grand prizes are going to be, at first, 5 faux pas, 1 lore, gold foes, and then the 10th grand prize is the Grail. So you got to go all 10 to get the Grail here. The rest of items you're looking for is the ornaments, which I've mentioned, which you can exchange in the shop for other things and do various things. You get exchange tickets. We're bringing back Christmas exchange tickets. Those are going to get you reactor cores, horns, bicorn horns, Lanagos, stand arrows, and silver crowns, and also generic mats like homunculi, shells, stakes, and bullets. All skill gems will be in all levels of the lotto at like 2 or 1 a pop. You're also looking at EXPs, apples. Again, after the first 10, it's only bronze apples, but there are some gold and silver in the first 10 to keep you over. Mana prisms, friend points, and of course, QP. As some of you may be yam hankering for that delicious QP. You also, of course, have a shop. I'm going to scroll down a little so I can read my notes and also you can see what I got going on here. You got a shop. You're going to get shop currency normally as well, in addition to the lotto currency, and you'll also be able to spend those Nautilus ornaments that you get out of the lotto. The shop contains your NP copies of NEMO. They're doing something a little similar to what ended up with Psycha. So, pre-epilogue, you can only get 1 NP copy of your NEMO welfare. But after that, once he's permanent, you can get the other 3. You can also have your NEMO Ascension items, your command codes. Another 4 lures. So you're looking at like 5 lures in this event. 6, actually, I think. They're pretty sure there's still a challenge quest, too. Honestly, I will say this. As a personal note, like, I feel like just challenge quests got a reputation of just being so obtuse that, like, now that events just give you, like, 4 crystallized lures in a shop, I feel like I couldn't care less about most CQs just because they only give me, like, 1 lure usually. It's a little wild to think about. But yeah, so you got, like, 4 lures. You got 4 copies of the Lotto CE. Yes, only 4 copies. Everybody rip. You're going to have to... Well, those of you who are going to go, like, super mega ultra ham with, like, FGA and stuff, you're not going to have to worry about that because I'm sure you'll get a drop in there somewhere. But, yeah, you got to get 1 more drop to get your maxed out copies. It's going to have some more leafs. Going to have some regular foes. You're going to have some EXPs. Your statues you're looking at are Saber, Lancer, and Caster. You're also getting Nemo coins, and you're getting mats like Gears, Ice, Dragon Fangs, Chains, Stingers, Metals, Fantasy Scales, Pomegranates, God Hearts, Soaps. That's Aurora Steels, but they look like bars of soap. Bloodstones and Comet Shards. I didn't realize I wrote that as Comet Shards in my notes. I can't believe I got that. Google, that's not a misspelling. I was typing this up hurriedly last night. Also, after the event is over, or... Actually, no, I think it is only unlocked when it's over. But at the end of the event, you can spend, you know, your high-level currency. Your Nautilus ornaments are worth 500 QP a pop when it's all over. So, you know, you have a reason to keep farming the lotto as well, because you can get a lot of QP this way. Now, you want to farm all this lotto. You're going to need some help, yeah? Well, you do have a bonus list for this. It's pretty simple. Santa Nemo, the welfare, is going to be plus 100% damage and plus 50% bond. Very straightforward. There is no brand new SSR here, so he gets all the juice. All of your previous Santas, along with Burrito Marts, regular Nemo, Summer BB, except are 50% damage and 20% bond, and then you're looking at Tesla, Ashwataman, Mary Anning, Habitrat, Merlin, Gramps, regular BB, Oberon, and MASH are 30% damage up and 20% bond up, except for MASH, of course, who is 5% for the whole squad. So, yeah, you've got a slimlined but variety list. There's quite a lot of welfares in it, obviously. And a few decent different things you can pick. And it is very funny, of course, that they just straight up have Oberon as a bonus servant. Now, there's no new SSR for this event, but we do have a bundle of banners as well. Because, you know, we do have currency CEs, so there will be several raid-ups. Banner number 1 is going to be regular Nemo. Banner number 2 is going to be Burrito Mart. This is Burrito Mart's rerun. Banner number 3, the third banner, is going to be Summer BB, and specifically Ashwataman. He's not on the other 2, I think, earlier. Banner 4 is Coxcotti, regular, and Ashwataman. There will also be an FP campaign, a friend point campaign for Mary Anning, so keep your coins coming that way. And if you don't have an NP5 Mary Anning from previous Learn with Manga event, you can get your copies now. But yeah, We've got another FP campaign going on for you to pick up. And that really is it. Like, it is pretty short to write all this, but it should be a pretty straightforward lotto event. You know, I will be interested to see what the story does, but it's, you know, quest a day, stuff like that. We'll probably do a welfare corner next time if we got the time, because you'll be able to at least access your temporary NEMO right away. But yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. Lots of delicious materials to get. I know personally I really do need to spend some time working on that lotto myself, because I do need to refill my coffers for skill coins, or skill gems, I should say. Skills are important, and well, it's been like a whole year since the last skill gem focused lotto, so, and there really is no better time to farm skill gems than Christmas. Yeah. That's that. You know, you guys are you I don't know, are you excited for a lotto? You're gonna go ham? You're gonna not go ham? I know some people said they were saving their apples and extra juice for the lotto versus the raids. So I know some of you will be going hard. QP's pretty good investment, but we'll see. There's plenty of items as well to get in there. Good time to ham, I know. But yeah, like I said, it should be pretty straightforward. I'm gonna what's the word? I'm gonna run out and take a bio break real quick. Chatters. So I will leave you with my favorite trick, my gone fishing sign. Check this out every time. When we come back, I'll do a little of the free talk stuff, and we can just jaw about some stuff. But we'll talk about a few things. Hey, spoilers. One of the things we'll draw about will be the Game Awards, probably. Not like in depth, because I think honestly, there's less to discuss in depth in that context. But we'll talk about a few things. I'll see you guys in a sec. Be right back. Drop. Fishing. Sorry, that's me with the cold tickling me. Is it framed? Is it framed up? Okay, it's framed up. So yeah, let's do a little what's up. Let's do a little jawing with the people at home, you know. You guys can give me a read on how you're feeling. So, first, I want to say, as a follow-up to last week, if you didn't watch last week's show in full, first of all, do that, please. Watch the podcast in full. It's like this, but actually, I shut up sometimes because Lucky talks, and we have some more back and forth. We discuss quite a few different things. But I mentioned I was playing Once Upon a Katamari. I got credits to roll on Once Upon a Katamari. Lovely little Katamari game. If you are a Katamari fan, I feel like I'm saying the phrase Katamari to the point where it becomes nonsense. But if you are a fan of Katamari, you should check out Once Upon a Time, or Once Upon a. It's good. I kind of like the gimmick. Overall, pretty fun. You know, has lovely big finish. Returns to some of the stages. I do appreciate that while they do have a cow bear homage stage, it is the one where you can catch either a cow or bear, and also it's a little less trolly. Like, it's still kind of annoying, but I feel like the spacing and design of it was so much that it was less likely that you would instantly run into a cow or bear. And they got a few different callback levels as well. I will still say that I think there's something interesting about it where I feel like they tried to integrate more, like, not quite cutscenes, but more like dynamic camera stuff into it, because there would be, you know, sweeping, like, you know, Final Fantasy XIV style dungeon intros to some of the maps, some of the areas, and then there would be points where you would, you know, reach a certain height milestone, and rather than just, like, point you at, you know, the little caution signs that say you must be this big a Katamari to like get them, right? You would do like extra cutscenes where there's like movement and stuff, and you can skip them. Like if you're redoing levels or something, you can skip them. But then if you skip, the King of the Cosmos is still like got like a little blurb about like, hold on, loading, can't speak right now, got to reset my dialogue because I wasn't expecting you to do that. And like it did seem a little clunky for a Katamari game, but overall it's a fun time. Check it out. Like I said, if you like Katamaris. And I am, you know, again, pretty big Katamari guy. Thank you, Google Autocomplete. By the way, Google Autocomplete I wanted to make sure to Google all announcements at the Game Awards 2025. Actually, chat, you let me know. You guys are live. What do you want to hear about right now? You want to yap about the Game Awards real quick? That's first in my notes. Or do you want to hear about the Fallout TV series on Amazon Prime? Well, yeah, what are you guys thinking? You know, before you guys all go back to your other monitor gameplay. Screen 2. I should double check. We're on like ultra low, right? Oh shit! Actually, we're only on regular low. Yeah, it's my bad. Sorry, I'm so used to we've gotten back to streaming in ultra low latency. I forgot I pulled the stream stats from a much earlier stream in the year, and I've left it on low latency. So you guys are a little behind on me. That's my bad. I'll give you a few more seconds to yell in if you're like, I don't want to hear about the Game Awards no more. But we're leaning towards Game Awards so far. This is what I get for not checking it. Sorry, I'm looking at my fucking YouTube control panel, and they're like, dual stream, generate a vertically cropped version of this for the shorts feed automatically. I guess I gotta turn that on before we go live. That's a little crazy. I don't think we'll be doing that anytime soon. Some of our content might be vertical adjacent. But okay, let's talk about the Game Awards a little. Usually, Lucky and I like to break this down and kind of go like category by category and talk about the winners and stuff. It shouldn't shock too many of you, assuming you haven't been under a rock or under a baguette this like past couple of days. That feels kind of less impactful this year because, shocking nobody really, Expedition 33 won a lot of those awards. They were like record-setting nominated for like 9 or 10 categories, and they won all but one of them. The only one they didn't win was Best Sound Design, which did go to Battlefield 6, interestingly enough. And yeah, that's kind of been where we're at right now. So Expedition 33 won a lot of awards. And it... Sorry, I'm stroking my chin. It's a complex conversation, and believe it or... Hey, guess what? Neither Lucky or I think wants to go with the flow about the narrative on this, but how should I phrase this? Personally, number one, not really upset that Claire Obscure won so many awards. Lucky was talking about earlier today. Yeah, because, by the way, like I said, Lucky's sleep schedule is fucked up. That's why he's not feeling like being on the podcast. He was talking about some of this stuff this morning, went to sleep, And like I'm pretty sure he may be something resembling awake right now, but he like slept in the middle of this day, so that's we are a little goofed up. It happens sometimes though. But he was talking about how like I the only award that he really quibbles about is best game direction, and I would agree on that. I don't want to say that Clair Obscur is not directed very well, but it is, you know, they're leaning pretty heavily into their influences. I think they got a few novel ideas in there. They got some decent stuff going on, and they do have a lot of style. I've heard some people apparently picking bones about their quote-unquote best art direction win, which is like, no, it's they have good art direction. You might not personally like their art design, but they have good art direction. They've got a whole thing going on with literally with color palettes and with clair obscur, which is another way of saying chiaroscuro, which is, you know, the interplay of light and dark. Herp derp, guess what? It's got stuff going on. They have style there for sure. Even if you don't personally agree with their art direction angle. But game direction is like Death Stranding 2 is a very well-directed game. Had some killer performances, you know, directed obviously by Hideo Kojima as the actual director. Had some killer mech and enemy design, both visually with Yoji Shinkawa designs, and then also like the ghost mechs and the kind of rebalanced brigands, and even some new BT types. Like, they really revitalized that a lot. Combat in the original Death Stranding, watch us stream all of Death Stranding, by the way. Lucky played the director's cut on stream for many moons. You can check out our whole archive on this channel. But like, they really did improve. The combat in the first game was kind of a drag at times, and otherwise was like wholly skippable. They did a lot by giving you access to tools earlier to make that game really cool. They did a lot of new shit with really interesting environments and traversal, and like also just had some extra Hideo Kojima weird shit, like the coffin board, a surfboard that is a coffin, and shit like that. Like, that game was very well put together, and they won like 0 awards, and obviously I do think it is an honor to be nominated, but like, I don't think that Clair Obscur like needed to win every single award to be recognized, and obviously, like I said, they didn't. It wasn't technically a sweep, but they took home a big chunks, and I personally hold no bones with Sandfall Interactive for it, because like every single time those guys got up on stage to deliver another acceptance speech, they looked like they were completely bewildered. They all dressed in the, you know, the joke costume of like the striped shirt and the red berets as like a gag, because their whole team, you know, because they got so many nominations, their whole team basically, except for like 1 or 2 guys, got to go to the Game Awards and sit in the crowd. So like there's just this big French block in the middle of the crowd, right? I kind of feel like, one, they feel like they genuinely sounded like they were surprised to win every award, right? But also, I feel like they were running out of things to say by the time the night was over. So, like, I don't hold it against them. They were pleased as punch to win all those awards, and were very deserving in some senses, in most categories, I think. Honestly, you know, they were nominated, so they were meant to be there. And I want to say, people on the internet, if you're leveling critiques, like, as usual, I saw some people on Twitter be like, oh man, who the fuck is this Jeff Keighley guy? Where does he come from? No, you don't understand. Jeff Keighley comes from the trenches, chat. Jeff Keighley knows ball. A lot of people have been circulating very old photos of him, you know, sitting with Gabe Newell, because he was one of the first people who got to take a look at Half-Life 1. One of his friends, like a personal friend of his, was like a developer on the original Unreal, so like, he's been in the trenches since the beginning. I think the most interesting and striking image I saw of him coming out of this was several people circulated a picture of him on Fox News responding to the Mass Effect sex scene controversy. Also, by the way, chat, you remember that? There's barely a nip, a single nip in Mass Effect, if there are any nips, and that was enough to make mainline Fox News back in the day. But yeah, like, so don't direct your criticism necessarily at Jeff for like how that happened to roll out. It's entirely the fault of the reviewers and panelists who like submit those things, and it is kind of interesting to see. I wonder if we will see a kind of like cultural contraction in a year or what. And who knows, if GTA actually comes out in November, it'll probably win a lot of awards. I'm pre-angling that I'm going to be salty about, chat. I'm going to be pre-salty about GTA 6 winning a lot of awards because, like, GTA is cool and all, but I still don't... Man, I don't know. There's just something about GTA. Like, I played GTA 5. It was pretty cool. I got into it with the hype, but also, like, I still don't feel the, like, generational hype, like the nostalgia hype. People to this day are still like, oh man, it's been forever since a new GTA came out. And I'm like, yeah, it has. What are you missing? What's GTA 6 gonna give you that you know a bunch of other video games haven't? I don't know. I also take a slight smug snideness in the comment that the guy who used to, one of the co-founders of Rockstar, who developed all of the Rockstar games that were good, but apparently has left in between RDR2. He's no longer there, so, like, I don't know if GTA 6 will have the same creative teeth. I guess we'll see. That's assuming that it actually comes out in time to be available for next year's Game Awards. But yeah, GTA 6 is probably going to win a lot of awards next year if it comes out in time, and I will be a little salty about that. This year I'm not salty. It's just kind of interesting that it's harder to talk about, and we'll see if there is, like, a cultural pushback about that. Because, like, Jeff Keighley doesn't pick who wins the awards, no matter what people say. He has a group of panelists who are interviewed who set these things. So yeah, I can't really do like a blow by blow on the award winners. There's some interesting things out there. You know, let me know what you think about some of this stuff. Some people caught out. There was a comment when Silksong won. I think Best Action Adventure was their one win. Jeff made an aside comment about, like, see, you did win something. I don't think people got that necessarily in a moment in the show, but apparently Team Cherry did not. You'll see this when they do the Game of the Year announcement. Team Cherry wasn't in the audience at all. Apparently, they declined to show up because they were pretty sure that E33 was going to win everything. So they were like, "Why, you know, run out a couple of guys to the show when we're not going to take home any awards and you know waste the money and stuff?" That's like a little, like, they're not wrong, but also, like, I don't know. You could have shown up in person and taken your Best Action Adventure and, like, gotten on screen. So I don't know about that. The programming thing that was a little weird was something, and chat, let me know if you caught this. I kind of wish Lucky was here so I can ask him if he caught it, but if he probably wouldn't remember so good a couple days later and also being befoggled. But several times I noticed Jeff Keighley would do, like, an ad spot for a game that was in a category and mention, like, also nominated here tonight for blah, blah, blah. And, like, at least 15 minutes, if not a full 30 to an hour ago, that game did not win its category. Like, they talked about Zenless and stuff, or maybe something about Genshin, or maybe there was a Wuwa ad in there separately. There were several gacha games in there, but they were, like, talking about, you know, blah, blah, blah was up for Best Mobile. They didn't win, you know, kind of a thing. And then, you know, I think there was even some for, like, Best Ongoing that they had the same problem. Like, he would shout out these games that were nominees, but also, like, the way he phrased it was a little weird. And it does kind of make me wonder if maybe Jeff had to move some stuff around. You may have noticed, chat, there were some companies that were conspicuously absent from the Game Awards, despite some general vibes that they were going to be there. Obviously, me and Lucky both were super anticipatory of a FF14 3, the third 7 remake game. Not there, despite the fact that I believe that Square Enix has, like, 2 hidden videos on their, like, Final Fantasy playlist, so, like, probably got something cooking. I don't remember which head it was, but one of the heads did say, like, in an interview a couple weeks before the Game Awards that, like, they had not finalized the branding. Like, they don't actually know what they're going to call the third game. Like, is it Return? Is it Reunion? What is it, right? They don't know yet, apparently, so, like, I could see that, like, maybe they were in talks with Jeff Keighley, but their marketing department couldn't settle on, like, what they're actually calling it yet, and so they skipped. FromSoft FromSoft, very much beloved by the Game Awards. They've made some very big announcements there. They've won some very big awards there. Nowhere to be seen except for like a few seconds of Duskblood's footage in a Nintendo Switch 2 sizzle reel. I will say, Duskbloods does look kind of like a Bloodborne 2 aesthetically. It will not play quite like a Bloodborne 2 from what it sounds like, but Night Rain turned out pretty good. But like, they didn't have any Night Rain announcements. A lot of people were speculating because there have been some like talks and rumors, and maybe some trademarks and stuff going on about maybe an Armored Core DLC or another announcement there. Like Armored Core got a back-end update on Steam, I think, a couple of weeks ago. No sign of that or them. And a lot of people were rumoring that Half-Life 3 was going to be announced at the Game Awards as well, and they were skipped. And the rumors of that one are being like corrected now. And basically saying that apparently, because the rumored plan, like the leaks and rumors, have always been that Half-Life 3 is coming. They are actually working on a Half-Life 3 because they want it to be a launch title for the new Steam machine that Valve and Steam are unveiling, that they've talked about. The Steam machine is currently being delayed because consumer access to RAM is really bad right now. Why is RAM really bad? Because the fucking AI companies are sucking it up. And I am legally not telling you that you should firebomb your local data center, but I am saying that might depreciate some of the RAM costs. But yeah, so Valve is... Also, it wouldn't actually... People would use it as an excuse to scalp RAM more, so don't actually do that for that reason. Like I said, legally, I can't tell you to do that. And also, it wouldn't actually help. But, yeah, so that could be another reason why there were parts of the show that felt a little disconnected and why maybe some of the reveals at the end of the show didn't hit as big as you thought they would, because Valve isn't ready to set a date on Half-Life 3 either, because they don't know when they're corresponding it. So they've got RAM troubles. A lot of people thought Atlas was going to show up, and like Sega even had like thoughts they would have a big night, and it didn't seem like it. Like, I don't know what exactly would be the line, but it did sound like there was rumors and abounding about some big hits, and we didn't have as many. There were still some pretty good ones on my end. There's some great shit that I really like to see. So we can talk about those a little. You know, feel free, chat, to sound off what you thought your favorite little announcement was. But there were some pretty good ones. So this was leaked because somebody found the press document, like, or the legal filing that did it. But yeah, the weird statue was for a new Divinity game. They're just calling it Divinity. Had a really like great, very metal trailer from Larian coming out. Pretty neat looking. Definitely some viewer discretion should be advised shit. But very solid trailer. It was all CG, so I don't know. A lot of people are worried that Larian's going to go action RPG instead of CRPG. We'll see, I guess. The branding seems to kind of be uniform to catch people up, because they really blew up after Baldur's Gate 3. So this might still technically be like Original Sin 3. We'll see. The cover for RE9, RE Requiem, did leak and showed Leon on it, so a lot of people knew that Leon was coming. A lot of people knew Leon was coming before even the cover leaked. We quote-unquote knew. But they showed off a new trailer for that, which shows, 51-year-old Leon. He's looking great, actually. And they did come out and say specifically that basically what RE9 is going to do is they're going to split the focus. Grace Ashcroft, as a playable character, will be more focused on the survival horror aspects. Looks like she's getting, kidnapped by, a mad doctor or something, so I'm looking for, some, classic, Mr. X or the family members roaming around, RE7 type stuff. Whereas Leon will be more Leon Kennedy classic action horror stuff of, knife parries, roundhouse kicks. They showed in the trailer that Leon gets the chainsaw to use against his enemies now. Okay, so it's not literally Original Sin 3. I haven't actually played either of the Divinity Original Sin games. I've heard some people say that they're technically 7 Divinity games, and I'm news to me. So I don't know what the internal difference is there between calling it Divinity: Original Sin and not, but it's still in their Divinity vibes for sure. So I like I said, a lot of people are worried they'll jump away to like a ARPG. I don't know about that. That, you know, going real time takes extra effort, chat. But yeah, no. RE9 looks cool. Coming out in February. We're pretty close to that. Capcom honestly was killing it this whole night. Let's see. I'm just gonna go in the order that IGN has these for now and just kind of talk about them. We did hear persistent rumors. I think there were even some full-blown announcements that were like, hey, look forward. Lara Croft's coming back. You're going to see some Tomb Raider at the Game Awards. Actually, yeah, no, Jeff was talking about it, so they pre-scripted this. But basically, there's 2 Tomb Raider games coming out. One, because they announced the one coming later first, and they set us back. So step 1, in 2026, they're doing Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. That is a remake of the original 1996 Tomb Raider. So, like, deliberate throwback, going to be recovering the same ground, but going to have some, you know, super updated graphics and shit. And then they're coming with a sequel to that one, Catalyst, in 2027. So, you know, getting some back and forth there. Honestly, pretty good duel. Because at first I was like, oh, 27, that seems like a long way. And then they were like, they kind of transitioned to showing different stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is a little different, weird. And then, boom. So interesting. Probably the most cinematic announcement of the night. Only just barely. When I talk about the other one, you'll see what I mean just barely. But Remedy did show up in a big way. They recently trademarked Control Resonant, and they showed up what it's going to be. So it's going to be a Control sequel. We're doing some fun stuff here. It's going to be, I didn't remember his name off the top of my head. It's been a while since I played Control. But yes, her brother Dylan will be the protagonist. He's going to get woken up from his coma. He's going to be melee focused as opposed to Jesse's kind of semi-gun focus with the service weapon. But yeah, super sick trailer of, like, you know, guys getting slurped up into the sky and like all the playing stuff. But looks like we're following up to it by basically being, we're getting out of the oldest house finally, and we're going to a hiss-infected Manhattan. So, like, very cool trailer that they showed. You know, very slick. Lots of different gameplay focus because, like I said, Dylan's going to be more melee. So, like, all in all, pretty cool stuff. That was probably one of the more hyped trailers to actually see. So that's going to be pretty cool. Now, let me see. Is it going to be a... Okay, that is going to be 26. So that's going to be a cool one. Saros got a release date for April 30th. Looking forward to that one. That's the one that's Returnal, but King in Yellow. They showed a little story stuff, but leaving it kind of open-ended. Like I said, Capcom had a great night because probably the proper, like, finale, I want to say. Like, one was the fucking orchestra peeled up to reveal Mr. Mega Man himself, Mr. Megan Man. So yeah, literally, like, a week ago, I think Capcom was like, no, trust us. We consider Mega Man, like, we want that to be a core IP, just like Resident Evil and Monster Hunter and shit. And everybody was like, yeah, okay, buddy. Anyway, Mega Man Dual Override is coming 2027. Probably effectively Mega Man 12, but they're not calling it 12. I think that's a good pull because, like, generally, it's a little crazy for them to be out here talking about all that. But yeah, looking good. We're still doing, you know, retro 2D, but we got kind of 3D models and stuff. They are doing a Robot Master contest, which is cool. They're keeping up the tradition. That's going to be 27, I think. So that's really interesting. Almost a great way to would have been a great way to cap off the night. Let's see. We got a release date for Phantom Blade Zero. That's coming September 9th. Still looking pretty cool. Kung Fu Punk World. We're just saying anything. Pragmata got a release date April 24th, 26. It's got a demo out now, and I think people have been saying they like it. And it's going to be coming to Switch 2 as well. That was a big fun one. So Toshihiro Nagoshi is was one of the former heads on Yakuza Like a Dragon games. He left to go found his own new studio, where he's basically... It's the fucking joke. Ah, it's Godzilla! For legal reasons, it looks like Godzilla, but it isn't. But we will still scream just like it's Godzilla. Like, it's that. He's literally calling it Gang of Dragon, which not only abbreviates to God, but also, you know, is invoking the Like a Dragon mythos. But we've got, you know, a cool Korean actor to be the face of it, who's and showed us some more in-depth violence. It does look like there's going to be some car stuff and some open world stuff. They did show the sign, which went to the real-life Kabukicho, which is what Kamurocho is inspired of. It's an actual place in Japan, in Tokyo. That's a very interesting one. We're gonna keep our eye on that. It looks like we're gonna have a chance, you know, to kind of catch up from there. It's got a lot of people interested. Wizards had a couple of announcements. They're doing like a Warlock game, single-player RPG, shit like that. Another one that was very fun for us, Forest 3 got announced, and it's in space. And Creative Assembly did say that they were going to do a brand new IP for their next Total War game. Hey, guess what? It's Total War 40K. So a lot of people were kind of curious how that was going to go. You know, because the Total War games have not usually gotten, you know, very far into, like, ranged combat. Usually you have big lines of guys that line up and you know, can clash in melee and shit like that. And they have a strategic upper level, and so people were like, oh, how's that going to work? Well, it turns out how we're going to do it is apparently Total War 40K is going to be Star Wars Empire at War, basically. You're going to have a planetary scale, possibly even a galactic scale map. They showed, you know, the Great Rift on it. And you're going to manage things from like a super high level and upper level, and then also have your lower level battles. It also looked like, well, obviously they did a great amount of showcasing Space Marines in the trailer. They did also show lots of Imperial vehicles, including some guard vehicles that Space Marines don't normally use. And so it looks like that your Imperial faction will use both Space Marines and Imperial Guards, so you will have like a mix of them. So you can have like cheap, big blobs of literal line infantry, and then, you know, your Space Marines will be like your more elite units and shit like that. They've shown orcs. They showed off quite a few different orc vehicles. I'm pretty sure they got some promo image of Tyranids, who are probably a great pick for a Total War style game, and some other stuff like that. And I don't know if they've announced all their full choices for factions and stuff. It'll be interesting to see, because I didn't see a lot of like chaos in like the trailers and stuff. So I think it's a neat announcement. Left 4 Dead creator and J.J. Abrams had an announcement for 4 Loop, a sci-fi co-op shooter. Obviously, like, gonna be Left 4 Dead-esque, but looks like it's got a lot of different stuff going on. That could be cool. We'll have to see how it plays. Developer of the Ascent Neon Giant is revealed a new game called No Law, which is an open-world first-person RPG with guns in a cyberpunk style. Literally, the developer knows that people are going to compare it to 2077. I'm already calling it a 2077-like. You know, IGN has... Sorry, I was quiet there because I was checking up. IGN has an article where they talked about how the developers know that they would be compared to 2077, but I'm, like, skimming it, and I'm not actually... They didn't even ask that as a direct question. Okay, here it is. So what I'm reading with their responses, it's not actually that different. The main thing is just that they're not doing an open world RPG. It is going to be an RPG. You know, you will invest EXP, but it's not going to have like a character builder. So there will be some people who will pick at that. You're going to play a pre-spec character. Or maybe people won't pick at that. I don't know. I don't understand why people argue about like, you know, it's not. You know, I do think that early CDPR did seem to say they were going to be leaning more on like tabletop inspired mechanics, and the way that CP2077 worked out is less that. Personally, though, the moment you saw first person like FPS gameplay, it's not a CRPG. That's not how CRPGs work, because you can't model like that kind of moment to moment gameplay and have it be a CRPG. So like that's, I don't know if you're complaining about that. I don't know what you were thinking. They probably started much more inspired by the tabletop and then went a little more proactive with it. But no Law actually sounds cool. They've got a cool composer for it who's worked on a lot of stuff. Honestly, I like Cyberpunk, so I don't mind if people are like producing games that are like it, even if they don't want to say it's exactly like it. And you know, honestly, not being open world and not being like, you know, mega gajillion hours big, that's okay. We take smaller, more compact experiences, chat. So keep your eye on No Law. Keep your eye on For Loop. Well, Axe brought it up, so I'll mention it. The quote-unquote final display of the night has been considered by a few people to be a bit of a letdown. So, Jeff... I mean, here's the thing. Do not say this for Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley can gas up anything. If you brought a trailer to the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley will gas you up. And that's genuinely, like, that's professional. You know, that's, like, what the fuck else are you gonna do? Are you gonna softball it? No, these guys are possibly paying you millions of dollars to get that, like, 3-second cover time. Gas them up a little. But it leads to disappointment because Jeff Keighley started off strong by being like, here's a new game from a bunch of guys who worked on Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends. And we're like, oh. And it's a high fantasy, but still has automatic assault rifles, hero shooter called High Guard that's going to launch next month. And Jeff Keighley talked about this, like, oh, they've been working on this for like 4 years in secret. So that doesn't build any hype for me. If you were working on something in secret for 4 years, cool, great. You're going to show up out of nowhere and be free to play next month? I don't know if I would go so far as to, like, people are already making the Concord 2 jokes. I don't know if we're that far. Like, this doesn't seem quite as sauceless. Like Axe did say this in the chat just now. You can see it on the screen. If it's guys who worked on Apex and Titanfall, like, the core gameplay loop will probably be pretty good, but it is another free-to-play hero shooter. Like, will that make a dent in the market? I don't fucking know. We're gonna have to see, like, what they got going for him. I know I was at first I was like, oh, this seems pretty neat, and then I saw that everybody was dying and leaving these little balls behind, and I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna be like a team shooter thing, and it's like, yeah, it's a hero shooter. They got, like, abilities, they got designs and whatever, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, whatever dark science Blizzard did with like Overwatch's character designs feels lost, because like a lot of games are trying to do this hero shooter shit, but I don't know, it feels like it's hard to like get good character design these days. Like, even the Apex guys are like a little generic, but like hypothetically I can recognize some of those people because they've got a couple of different vibes going on. But yeah, it's an oddball one. It's also very funny because they're, you know, a free to play hero shooter. Marvel Rivals, who did win an award, I believe, for best. I think they were best ongoing. I almost said best multiplayer. No, our creators won that, and like, the crowd was fucking stone silent. Shout out to that one guy who yelled out for Night Rain. You're a champion in my heart, bud. Don't worry. But not only has Marvel Rivals been launching new content, they just launched Gambit, they just launched Rogue. I got like I actually got to play a little bit of Rogue before everybody kept insta-locking her last night. Yes, I actually reinstalled and booted up Rivals. I should see if I can get more people to play with sometime. But maybe I'll do some like bonus streams when I'm not dying in backlog of other shit. I forgot to talk about this when I talked about Katamari. Like right now, I'm at kind of a crossroads of my gameplay of like what I should do, because it's like, okay, I finished Katamari. That was my big downtime game. Do I go back and play E33, or do I go back and finish FFT? Both of those games are kind of in a space, but we'll see where we land. But yeah, like not only did that happen, but also Marvel Rivals announced their next couple of characters for Season 6 is going to be Deadpool and Elsa Bloodstone. So like, I don't know, man. You might get some hardcore FPS heads to play, but I don't know if you're going to capture. I guess there is still the ball and gun game, like dynamic. Those people exist, but I don't know, man. You're gonna compete against Deadpool? The Elsa Bloodstone thing. That's for like me and for like maybe 100 other people. Like I remember Next Wave. I may be the only person in the world who still remembers Next Wave, but like, Elsa's been in some other stuff. She's cool. Deadpool's Deadpool though. Even the trailer he jokes, "This is why I have 3 movies." Like. I don't know. But like I said, we'll see. So yeah, the High Guard thing was like I said, people calling it Concord 2. I feel like people are a little de-sauced, like But it was not a great announcement to end the Game Awards on with a like I said, a free-to-play hero shooter coming in a month is like that's not the hype we wanted. The Mega Man thing I think was bigger. I'll just talk about it because it's right here on this IGN article I'm reading. The big one for me was like, well, there were a couple of big ones. Obviously, Control Resonant was like, that was a super cool trailer. I liked what we showed in that. But we did know they were working on a new Control game, and specifically Control Resonant was like copyrighted a while ago. Like they filed trademarks and stuff. So that wasn't as big a surprise. It was just a big spectacle. The couple of big surprise announcements. One of them was, holy shit, Chad, it finally happened. It's real. Ace Combat 8 Wings of Thief announced coming 2026. Holy shit, it's been literally 6 fucking years. They're finally doing it. Honestly, it'll be 7 years before it actually comes out, I think, because Ace Combat 7 was 2019. Also, it's like 95% off on Steam or some shit right now, so if you need to jump into Ace Combat, do it. I saw some people who were like, oh, really, you got to jump back to, like, Ace Combat 2, and I'm like, yeah, you can emulate the PS2 games pretty cool, but, like, you don't have to. You can just play Ace Combat 7 and see if you like it. And that'll be a pretty modern run. But no, super cool. I remember watching this trailer was like so interesting because like they did kind of like, ooh, they showed the big screen. They played some like standard Ace Combat like background dialogue, like your AWACS and your pilots calling out stuff. And then they cut to like first person cutscenes and they were like in a raft, and I was like, oh, it's not a plane game. I was excited. And then some guy just, starts talking about Uzia, one of the countries in Strange Reel, the setting, and I'm just like, oh, DiCaprio point, it's actually Ace Combat, for real. They modeled the USS Hornet. They actually like modeled a real aircraft carrier to be the aircraft carrier, and looks like we're doing some actual like first person story cutscenes, which is really interesting. I like AC7. That was definitely a little light on the story. Most of your story stuff was told through like handfuls of ambient dialogue in missions, and then you did have in-between mission cutscenes every so often, but those were very rarely actually showed characters like standing around and talking. Most of them were like action shots, interplay of like character models standing there not moving their lips with dialogue over them. Like, this looks like a lot more like dynamic story. It'll be interesting to see if they do actually have like involved story, because it's been a long time since they did that. There have actually been like dialogue options and like branching story in Ace Combats previously, but that's also been a problem for the franchise. I mentioned it before, but Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere, like in Japan, that actually has like a whole big like branching story and like anime cutscenes, but that was apparently a big pain in the ass to like translate and dub over and shit, so it like got super cut down for the Western release and almost killed the franchise in the West type shit. So like, we'll see. Looking pretty cool. People have already pointed out they're wondering if it's got like a vague Ghost of Kiev like thing. If you don't know, the Ghost of Kiev wasn't real. That was like that people can't bash it in internet meme, an urban legend. But like, basically, your country, Federated States of Ugia, falls to an invasion, and you know, you're like left on a formerly mothballed aircraft carrier, and you're handed, you know, the title of the Wings of Thief, you know, this elite combat squadron who's fallen, and you got to take up their mantle. You know, you got to start as a fake ace and become a real ace. Trust me, by the end of an ace combat game, you are going to be a real ace. You're going to be doing fucking Kobit turns and Pujev's Cobras and like double killing flying aircraft carriers. I thought that was just Arsenal Bird in there, but they've showed it. Those big boys, no. Those fuckers have pontoons. That flying aircraft carrier is like capable of like water landing and takeoff. That sucks, man. It's gonna be great for us to handle. But yeah, super excited for that. That's like my biggest takeaway of like, I have been fucking jawing about a new, like, chomping at the bit for a new Ace Combat game, and I'm just like, where the fuck is it, Project Aces? You always, you know, you're hyping up music and shit. Here it is. Cool beans. Glad to see it. You know, they showed off some cool stuff. You know, there's like Order of the Sinking Stars, a new puzzle game from the guy who created The Witness. That's cool. I showed a new trailer for Neo 3. I know some guys are very excited for that. The developer behind Mario plus Rabbids is announcing a new game called Bradley the Badger, which is kind of like pastiche. You know, they had like Badgerborn, Badger Punk, shit like that. You know, cute nods to like game development and other weird stuff. Very, very meta story. I don't know if we got a release date on that, but that looked cool. One announcement I do want to shout out is Stupid Never Dies. We were watching all this live. You should have been in our Discord. Links in the description. Some people kind of poo-pooed this trailer. I would say that its particular sort of, like, style wasn't for me. Very, very, like, 2000s throwback. But it's very funny to hear about this game later and have people kind of be down on it, because actually I suspect there's more than enough people in our community who would be interested in this sort of game. Because Stupid Never Dies is going to be like an action beat-em-up game that's by some ex-guys at Capcom, people who worked previously on franchises like Devil May Cry and Dragon's Dogma. So definitely, like, I think some of the people out there in our audience will actually, like, appreciate that kind of gameplay and those developers. So it was very funny to hear people kind of be a little down on that. And you got some fun little cool games. You got the Free Shepherd, you play a sheepdog. Got Covenant of the Chickenfoot by some Last of Us guys. Oh my god, sorry. It's just so funny. People are like, first-person Souls-like. Then it's a Kingsfield-like, chat. I haven't played a single Kingsfield name, and even I know that. It's a dungeon crawler, guys. If you're first-person, it's not... Souls games only come from the Souls region of France. The Poison Swamp region of France, okay? It's not a Souls-like if it's first-person. It just isn't. Words have meaning, chat, but Decrepit looks pretty cool, pretty gross, but it's a dungeon crawler, it's first person. Inspired by, you know, Souls-like games, that's cool. Just scroll through some cool trailers. Orbitals is a Switch 2 game that I'll probably play in like 5 years. They had a cool Warframe trailer where they got fucking Werner Herzog to talk about it. We got an announcement for Ontos, which is spiritual sequel to Soma. It's going to be pretty weird, pretty wacky. Screamer is a story-based racing game that looks pretty cool. They got like an anime art style. I mean, technically we got to round it out. We got 2 new Star Wars announcements. One is Star Wars Racers. Is it just Galactic Racer? Is the name of it? With, like, a Doug who I believe has been confirmed to be Sebulba, like, showing some classic racing stuff. Great fit for Star Wars. There's a lot of weird different vehicles you can do in it. There's a lot of weird planets you can do, so that's pretty cool. Coming in 26. gonna be interesting to see. But yeah, that'll be neat. But the big one was that they revealed Fate of the Old Republic, FOTOR, by Casey Hudson, the original KOTOR writer and the head of Mass Effect. He's left to go his own studio. Very cool, subtle trailer, because I was like, I saw the ship going through space. I'm like, hold on. This could be Star Wars. This could be Star Wars related. Showed one of the big, like, Leviathan class Sith cruisers, and I'm like, oh, looks pretty Star Wars. And then activate a lightsaber, and like, hell yeah, it's Star Wars, baby. That one was pretty interesting because most of these announcements are either for 26 or 27. Some people are a little, like, concerned. You know, they immediately started rumors that it might not come out until 2030 because Casey literally only founded that studio in this calendar year in 2025. That said, he did, like, straight up tweet, by the way, the game is supposed to come out sooner than 2030. Like, he did say that, like, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not getting any younger. We got shit to do. So while it seems like the studio is relatively fresh in formation, they're not aiming for such a long turnaround time that it's going to take them 5 fucking years to develop. So that's good. It will not come out in 2030, currently, is the plan. You never know with, like, delays and shit, but could be. But yeah, that was another one that was, like, came out of nowhere, like, had the pedigree, was super hype. Like, honestly, that probably should have been the last trailer, but, you know, they didn't block the time for it. So that was really cool. And then I guess was that it? Talking about Mega Man, that was pretty cool. Mega Man was cool, Control was cool. I'm over the moon about Ace Combat, and, like, I also am super interested in what they're doing with Fate of the Old Republic. We're getting our first official, like, Old Republic game. So we get a chance to, like, you know, slam some shit back into canon that wasn't canon before, but also maybe make some moves to be a little more cool. One thing that was definitely frustrating about the way the previous Old Republic games went was that they very much cottoned onto an aesthetic that is supposed to be exactly the same as Empire and Rebels and Sith and Jedi, but 4,000 years in the future. So, you know, we'll see what we got going on. That's like a super cool. Yeah, my best trailers were Mega Man announcement, Ace Combat announcement, and Control Resonant was really cool. So we'll keep it. You know, video games are still good. Jeff always puts out a poll, and I voted for a B. I think it's a B rank show. It's not the greatest show ever they've ever done. I do think that, like, some of the announcements were lacking a little teeth. Like, there were obviously some big players in the industry kind of missing. Like, even though PlayStation was there, it was mostly just, like, their, like, multiplayer stuff they've been trying to get percolating, which has had a lot of problems. So, like, I'm not crazy bad for it. But I never felt like the show felt super slow for me. I do know some people who were, like, in the European time zone staying up where, like, it felt a little long, and I can see that. Didn't feel that way for me personally, but I can see if you were feeling that. I did, like I said, note that they feel like there were a couple of, like, ad reads or like, sponsored segments that were a little out of place. I love the Muppets every year. Rolf the dog talked about fucking Undertale and Kingdom Hearts, man. That's pretty hip. That dog knows ball. That dog has ball knowledge, okay? And he can play a mean piano. But, like, you know, like I said, I think it was okay. It was pretty good, honestly. There were a couple of things that were missing, and, like, it's very funny to see, like, obviously, not everyone is literally saying these things, because that would be contradictory, and very few people can do that, but it was kind of interesting to see this big upswell of sentiment, general sentiment, for, like, Expedition 33 sweep, look at this shit, this is great. And then now that Expedition 33 won a lot of awards, you have a lot of people, like, upswelling to be like, actually, they're not really an indie game, they're an industry plant, they're not indie. They have a publisher, it doesn't count. In fact, no game should win that many awards. It should not be possible for you to be nominated that many times, and it's like, no, that's not really how award shows like the Game Awards work. Like, if your game is actually that good to get that many noms, you get that many noms. I will say it's interesting because I was bringing this up constantly. I was like, So usually what happens is if you win a lot of awards in the lower card, you don't win Game of the Year, and vice versa. God of War won a shitload of awards, but didn't win Game of the Year. That was the Elden Ring year, I believe. It was either God of War 1 or Ragnarok. So, like, it don't always work like that, but it is kind of an interesting case where they do got some of these back skis and fourth skis. But overall, I liked it. All right, chat. I'm going to run off and take another bio break real quick, and then I'll probably give my... Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'll talk about Fallout next week. Because I finished the first season, but I'll say it in short, and then we'll get out of here. You know, I got other shit to do. I got to decide what video games I'm going to play, and other stuff to catch up on. But I'll talk a little about the Fallout TV show, if you're interested. My brief point why I want to kind of put this off is... So, the Fallout TV series is 8 episodes on Amazon Prime. They're doing that thing where Amazon's like, oh, the show was so successful after 1 episode, we ordered a second season right away. Which is fucking horseshit, because the first 8 episodes is not a full... It's not a full story arc. Like, it does conclude some stuff, but it also clearly leaves some stuff hanging and introduces a whole bunch of new shit in the last episode. Like, so much cliffhanger-type bullshit, right? So, like, personally, I'm not going to be able to decide, I think, on whether or not I truly really like the show until we get that second season, which the first episode of which should be next week. So we'll see kind of where that's at. You know, they're kind of fucking around with the timeline and stuff like that. I don't want to get into it too much. I will say the choreo and the costuming and stuff, like the action is really good. The look of it is pretty nice. They do some cool stuff. I'm not always 100% sold on some of the character stuff they're going for. And also, I kind of feel like they're doing the same ham-fisted thing where they're like, they're trying to come up with like meta-narrative reasons for it, but like we're blowing up the previously established canon by setting the show farthest in the timeline. Like we're setting it, you know, the furthest ahead in the timeline, at least 2 years after New Vegas, probably after Fallout 4 as well, I think. But like we're setting it far up in the timeline, and then it's like, well, but we don't want to tell stories about the Fallout setting in that timeline period. We just want to, you know, set it in California because our studio's in California. So we're going to fuck some shit up there. Like, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where, like, the directors and writers have been like, oh, hey, don't check out Fallout New Vegas fans. You're going to see a lot of Fallout New Vegas in the second season. I'm like, yeah, probably. But, like, if what you're going to show me is that you blew it up 2 years after I spent 80 hours fixing everything, I don't want that. That's not what I want, guys making the Fallout TV show. That's not interesting to see you not just use something I spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into as a prop, but also you set it on fire first. It's a battle-worn prop. You know, it's a artistically aged prop. That's not cool. I guess it really depends. Like my high-level review is, it depends on if you think of Fallout as like a continuity, a franchise with a set canon that you're following, or as like a vibe. As a vibe, the Fallout TV show is very correct in the Fallout vibes. I think even Tim Kaine, the original creator, like the head guy on Fallout 1, liked it for that reason. It keeps to the vibes of Fallout. If you're the kind of person that is like, oh, what's the NCR up to? What's Mr. House up to, you know? Did Caesar's Legion survive the end of Fallout New Vegas, or did it collapse in on itself? You may or may not care because they're doing the thing that Bethesda likes doing, which is they're constantly blowing up the old shit to move in the new shit. And that's not necessarily new. Like, in the first drafts of, like, Fallout Van Buren and stuff, the original Fallout 3 and some other stuff that, like, Chris Avellone worked on, there were, like, questions of, like, do we want to keep the NCR around or not? So it's not, like, necessarily a new idea, but overall the show is very much, like, starts very early, like, retreading a lot of old Fallout vibes. But like I said, they got, if you like the vibes, they do got those vibes. So I'll talk probably more detail with Lucky next week. I'll leave it in my notes. It does mean that while we did manage to talk for about an hour and a half chat, we did not loop my music. Isn't that nice? So I am gonna run out of here though. Thanks for tuning into this little news desky, free talky thing. I'm glad to have you. Glad to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments down below if you want about anything else going on out there. Your plans for the lotto. Obviously, how excited you are for that. You can hit me with your thoughts on the Game Awards. Let me know in the comments. We'll clock this in right now. Sorry, I'm feeling a little nasally. I've been talking so much. This is the problem with even solo balling. But yeah, thanks for the jams and the slams. I'll be seeing you guys. Be sure to tune in next week for more Let's Talk FGO proper. We hope. We're gonna be back with more Sly 3. Pretty close to the end of Sly 3, honestly. We'll see how that goes. But Sly 3 on Monday. Tuesday, Fail Betrayal. It's going to be a special one. We're going to be talking about Trench Crusade this week is our plan. Wednesday, new Final Fantasy 14 patch. Sick as hell. Gonna, do some story. Maybe hit up the Arcadion. We'll see what's up. See what people are feeling. And we should be recording a new episode of Rain on Sunday. And I have posted. That was the Friday post. I have posted our most recent episode. So if you've been missing Rain, check it out. Shout out to Summer's Moon. We set up the summer court and stuff, so we'll be having a coolio vibes. Sorry, that's me getting a little dry. Okay, that's the sign to end the show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like I said, fire some. I almost said that as some fire some licks. Press that thumbs up button to lick us, chat. The shit I do for engagement. But fire some likes off in the chatters. Thanks for hanging out with me for a second, and we'll hope to see you back next week for more. And have fun with Lotto. Like I said, that should be launching, I'm going to guess, the evening of the 18th. Let's see if I can pull up my calendar in a timely manner. Yeah, so that's a Thursday, so yeah, so the event should have just started by the time we get in there. So we'll have some early on stuff to talk about. But, sorry, my voice threatened to really crack there. That's going to be about it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Check out some previous stuff on our channel. Bye-bye now.